Hi, everybody, and good morning. It is Thursday. I forgot what day it is. It is Thursday, January 20th, and we're here for my research methods class. Thank you so much for all of you who are on here with me. I know it's in the morning and it's a Thursday. It's cold outside, or it's at least cold in my house at the moment. But thank you so much for being on here with me. I'm really excited to see so many of you getting your names in the chat and logging in and joining me. Can you all hear me and see me okay? If someone could just let me know really quickly if you can hear and see me just fine in the chat, that would be fantastic. Good morning. Great, great. Thank you. Thank you. A couple of yeses. I will take it. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay, perfect, perfect. I'm glad to hear it. Well, thank you again so much for being on here. I know it seems small, but I am so grateful to see all of your names in the chat and for the chance to interact with all of you a little bit. We are in week number 2, and so we don't have quite as much to cover this week in the sense that I don't need to go over the syllabus and the Canvas platform and all of that. But what we will do, our plan for this week, is that what I'll do is go over last week's materials just a little bit. So what I always like to do is kind of start with last week and talk about some of the trends that I saw in the discussion and some of the things that were done really well and maybe some areas for improvement so you can constantly be learning and growing. We'll talk a little bit about the things that are due this week. What are the requirements and materials that you need to do for week number 2? I will give you your Twitch extra credit question as a reward and a reinforcer for joining me today and show you how to go ahead and answer that. And then, as always, I will end with a little bit of time for questions. So if you think of anything that you have questions about, you can save it for the end or you can ask me throughout. The chat is your way to communicate with me if you're joining for the first time. And a couple of you, it says on my end, first time participation in the chat. So that's fantastic. Thank you again for joining me. These 2 points of extra credit, if you did them every single week, adds up to like 32 or 34 points. It's a lot. So I'm glad so many of you are taking advantage of it. That makes me happy to see. So let's go ahead together and go over to Canvas. And again, if at any point today you have questions, feel free to ask. And I was going to say a minute ago and I forgot, but I hope you all had a really nice long weekend. It feels like a long time ago at this point, but it was nice having Monday off. And yeah, it's always nice to have a shorter week, even if it makes Tuesday a little bit harder to come back from. But I hope everyone is doing well, hanging in there and staying healthy. I still feel like I'm fighting something, but a little better than last week. So I will take it. But if we're on our Canvas page here, again, we, as of this Monday, are in week number 2. But let's go backward for just a moment and take a look at last week, just again to always understand and grow and just kind of review a little bit of what we covered. So last week we were looking at chapter 1, and chapter 1, and in some ways the first part of chapter 2 that we're covering this week as well, that's kind of setting the stage for a lot of the topics that we're going to cover. How do we think about the world, and how do psychologists think about the world as more of a science rather than kind of intuition and common sense based thinking? And so the discussion for last week was the one big component that you had that was due. And I just want to just point out a couple of things from the discussion. Overall, I was really happy with what I saw. A lot of you just did a beautiful job of talking about what it means to be a critical or smart consumer of information. Really some fun and interesting headlines that a lot of you came up with and found online. The one place that I feel like I saw some room for improvement was in question number 3. What I really wanted you to do with your article is to be a critical consumer of the headline and story that you read, to critique those claims, sharing your thoughts and questions and things that you learned from chapter 1. Some of you just kind of summarized the article and you gave me your personal opinion about whether you agreed or disagreed, but forgot to do that critical piece of critiquing it or looking for some flaws or issues that might have been present or anything that might have been misleading. some of you just did a wonderful job of this, of really kind of questioning some of the things that came up and where did they get their information and who did they ask and is that headline really accurate? Overall, like I said, a lot of you just did beautifully. But some of you, if you lost points, it was typically because you either didn't quite give me enough, and so I said, please elaborate a little more in your responses, or you forgot to have that kind of critical lens when you were describing the article that you found. So every week, what will happen is I will grade all of the materials from the previous week on Monday. So our weeks end on Sunday night. And then traditionally all day Monday, I will grade. I have 7 classes. I grade all throughout the day on Monday. And so by Monday evening, you'll get an email from me with some general feedback and some comments about last week, and then some reminders for this week. So hopefully you're all getting those emails and you're seeing that information. You also will always have a grade that's posted. And I talked a little bit about that in the announcement for this week of where you can find your grades if you didn't see it. But I grade with a rubric and I'll always give you a little bit of feedback just so that you can try and understand maybe what you did really well or what you could do better next time. So the biggest thing that I saw was just not being critical of your article, not giving me quite enough information. Remember to always elaborate. This is your chance to show off your knowledge and understanding of the material. So you always want to make sure that you're giving me lots of information. The other thing that I saw is some of you forgot to respond to a classmate. So if you look at the instructions right here, not only are you watching my little video and answering my questions, but as it says right here, you want to always read through a minimum of 5 of your classmates' responses, and then you need to reply to one of them. So your responses to my questions are worth 13 points, and then your responses to a peer, your response to one of your classmates is worth 2. So you always want to make sure you do that class peer response and get those 2 points. They're kind of an easy 2 points to get, so you always want to make sure that you're doing that piece. So again, overall, really nicely done. If you ever have more specific questions about your post or your grade, you can always email me. I'd be happy to talk with you a little more about it. And then I just want to point out where I sent out this link in the announcement, but there's this page right here that I created under Help and Campus Resources. And it's called Grades, Timing, Finding Your Feedback, and Using Them as a Learning Opportunity. So if you were to click on that, this is going to highlight where you can find your scores. I did make a little quick YouTube video. It's about 2 minutes long. I made this last year. You could tell because my hair is way shorter in the video. But I made this last year and just showing you where you can find your grades and how you can look at them and use them to learn and grow. So if you couldn't find your scores, you might want to check out this video. It's just a quick 2-minute video, but it should help you to find your scores so that you can always see what your grade is. Always be checking your grade. If anything is ever wrong or you have questions about it, you can always reach out to me and I would be happy to talk to you more about it. The other thing, a lot of you did the optional Twitch extra credit last week, which makes me happy. A lot of you did a beautiful job answering it, getting those full 2 points. Remember that I'll always post a recording of our live stream once we're done. Okay, so you could see the recording for week number 1 right here. If you click on that, I just want to point something out. As I mentioned a moment ago, I do teach 7 different classes. So make sure that you're always watching and joining the right Twitch live stream. A couple of you answered the wrong extra credit question, and that's how I know you watched the wrong stream. So I will always post the recording on here. Notice it says research methods week number 1 and the date. But if you're watching it on Twitch, just make sure that you're always checking the title and that you're joining me at the correct day and time. I would just hate for you to be confused or answer the wrong extra credit question. So before I move forward, I'm going to put this in the chat here, are there any questions, comments, thoughts, anything that you're confused on from week 1 or the class in general that I can answer for you? Any questions, thoughts, comments from week number 1 before we move on to this week and week number 2? I'll give you just a moment. I'm gonna, you're usually about 20, 30 seconds behind me, so just to make sure. And if you don't have any questions, that's okay too, but I'll always check in with you. And if you think of something later, put it in the chat later. That's totally fine. But if there's anything I can answer or help with, I'm here and happy to do so. Uh, but if there aren't any questions, then let's take a look at what we have going on for this week. So as of Monday morning, we started week number 2. And I did break up chapter 2 into 2 parts. So for this week, you're just focusing on the first half of chapter 2, which is pages 25 to 41 in that copy of the book. But make sure that you're only worrying about that. You'll worry about the second half next week. Oh, I had a question here. Emailed you yesterday about your book status. You were able to find one on Amazon. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. Such a pain, and I know you had said you paid for expedited shipping. It seems like everybody is just taking so long to get things done. Everyone's so short-staffed. So I'm glad you were able to find a book. Hopefully, all of you at this point have your book, or you have one on the way. And I'm glad to hear that you figured it out. So as I mentioned, this week we're on chapter 2, part 1. So if we click on this, first order of business, if it were up to me, and you can make your own path with this, whatever works for you. But I would read the book first, read those pages in the book, those 16 pages or so, and get that kind of broad understanding and perspective. I think the textbook is really well written. It has some great examples in it. And so I would read that first. I think that's a nice place to start. Then when you get to the lecture, remember there's a 3-page written lecture that I've created for you here on Canvas. The first page is always going to be learning objectives and summary. And I always will put some images in here from the book that might be helpful. So make sure you read through the summary. You can listen to it if you would rather listen to my voice, because you missed the sound of my voice, right? I was a little healthier when I recorded it. And then the second page is beyond the book. And so one of the topics we're looking at a lot this week is why research is best and how to find it, right? We're looking at science versus pseudoscience. I've kind of added a little bit more here on that topic. So make sure that you read through everything that I put in here. This is all stuff that could appear on the exam, in addition to the things in the book. So some stuff about science versus pseudoscience, things that we associate with scientific, evaluating the credibility of sources. Anytime I put a video in here, make sure you watch them. Here's a little short video evaluating the credibility of sources that I think is really helpful. So any links that are here or videos, explore them, check them out. They're going to be helpful for you in understanding the materials. And then finally on page 3, I'm not sure why that image isn't there. Those drive me nuts. I can't stand when things are broken or don't show up. I'm going to have to go check that out when we're done today. But on page number 3, these are all the terms that you need to know from chapter 2, part 1 for that first exam. So if you wanted to be studying a little bit as we go along, just to break it up and make it more manageable, these are the terms from this week that you need to know for the test. So just something to keep in mind as we move through. If you ever wanted to kind of study and review week by week, these would be the things to focus on, which is why they're the key terms. These are the things that will show up on exam number 1 when we get there in a couple of weeks. So make sure that you read through the lecture. Again, watch any videos that are in there. And then you're also going to want to watch the lecture that I have created for you. And these are typically not all that long, but it's me kind of reviewing some of the key concepts from this chapter with some PowerPoint slides in the background. These will either be posted on YouTube, or they might also be like a Zoom link, depending on the materials. So this one's on YouTube, which I think makes it nice to be able to watch anywhere. But make sure that you watch this. You might consider taking notes, as the materials that I review in here are some of the key concepts from the chapter and will definitely appear on exam number 1. So those are kind of 3 big things to start with. Again, I would read the first part of the chapter in the book, read through and watch anything in the lecture, and then watch the lecture video with those PowerPoint slides, take notes, pay attention, and know that those materials are definitely kind of the core of our topic and will definitely appear on the exam. Like usual, every single week you will do a discussion. So we have a discussion that's due this week. Let's go ahead and take a look at that together. And with every discussion, like we just looked at for the first one, you'll have these little instructions at the top There'll be an introduction video that I would recommend that you watch. I'm going to go over the topic a little bit, give you some examples and tips. But watch the video, answer all of my questions. Don't forget, as I just reminded you, to read through 5 of your classmates' responses or more, and then reply to one of them. The discussion in totals were 15 points. You can see the rubric here if you wanted to get a little more on that. But if we scroll down, what you're looking at this week is the topic of science versus pseudoscience. And that's a really kind of key concept for this first half of chapter 2. And so what I'm asking you, a couple of questions. I want you to read these articles and excerpts. So if you open that really quickly, you can see article number 1 is all about what is pseudoscience. Article number 2 is a pragmatic approach to something called the demarcation problem. Article 3, distinguishing science from pseudoscience. All of these are really brief. I've given you little excerpts rather than making you read the whole article. And I've also read them to you if you would like to listen to them instead. So make sure you read all these little articles and excerpts on science versus pseudoscience. And then once you have read the chapter, watched the lecture, read the articles, you can answer the 3 questions that I have for you. So number 1, what are some of the key differences between science and pseudoscience? Provide and explain a minimum of 2 differences. So what are at least 2 differences between science and pseudoscience, and explain. What is the demarcation problem and who first identified it? So explain it, who identified it, tell me a bit about it. And then number 3, what are some of the problems with the science versus pseudoscience classification? Note, provide and explain a minimum of 2 different problems. So these are all things that you can find in these articles, in the lecture, in the textbook chapter. And when you're ready to answer them, you'll hit the reply button, which will bring up that text box, and always save whatever you send to me just in case, but you can type your response in the box here. And then make sure that you post your reply and that you also reply to one of your classmates. So let's say, Grace, I really like the way that you did this, and I want to reply just like a few of you did. I would hit reply to Grace, or Effie, I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right, or Justine, right? Make sure that you are responding to a classmate in addition to answering my questions, and really show off your knowledge, right? Give me lots of detail, lots of information. Demonstrate to me that you can apply and connect the dots with the materials that we are covering. So those are like your really core elements for this week, covering the chapter and the lecture materials, and then discussion number 2. There's a couple of other things, but are there any questions about that stuff so far? Again, remember, we're breaking chapter 2 up into 2 pieces. Next week we move forward into a little bit more of like the core content of the class, but we're still setting the stage a little bit this week. But any questions or thoughts or anything so far? I do have some reminders and announcements, and then I'll talk about the extra credit and stuff as well. But anything on your end before I get there? Just double checking. Since I can't see your faces, right? While I'm waiting for you, let me give you a couple of reminders. I'm going to remind you of this every week, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record. I can't stand when people harp on this too much, but it really is important for our class since we're using Twitch as a way to interact. If you could take a moment every time that we come on here together and just make sure that you are still subscribed if you went through that process. So if you look at the chat or look at your name in the chat, you should, if you're subscribed to my channel, you'll have this little football cake. It almost looks like a hamburger, but it's a football cake next to your name. A couple of you didn't do the last step, and a few of you emailed me about this, so I'd like to show you how to do that. But for example, Jennifer, you just have the Prime Gaming crown next to your name. Same thing with DJ, and then there was one more up here at the top, Nicole. There's a couple of you who didn't do the last step, so you just have your accounts linked. You did the hard part, but not the easy part. And so a few of you have been asking about this. Let me, I'm going to take you over to Twitch just for a moment and show you how to do the last step. And I'm sorry to bring this up again, but it saves me so much time if you are subscribed. I don't have to go through and find each one of you individually. I can just download your names. And I really appreciate you taking that step to make my life easier. And then if you're subscribed, you only get the one ad at the beginning, and then you don't get interrupted. And I think that's huge as well. So thank you for those of you who took the time to figure that out. If we go over to Twitch together, if we're on my channel, right now it'll be funny because you'll see me lecturing on here as I'm lecturing on here, multiple videos at the same time. Look, it's me and me and me, too many versions of me at the same time. I can't show you on my channel how to subscribe, so I'm going to take you to my friend's channel just so I can show you as an example. And these are my buddies, Sticker G. These are my friends. They got me into Twitch, and they're big video game players. Sadly, we aren't playing any video games on here. But I do want to show you on their channel how you could go ahead and do that last step. So if you just have the crown next to your name, you have one more step to go. I'm not sure why it's not showing up on here. That's not going to help me. Normally right here, there's this little purple bar that shows up. Let me see if I can show you on a different one. That's not helping me to not be able to show you. Like, I'm just going to open everybody's channels that I have and see. Football. You can see my channels that I follow, like my friends in football, right? So I'm not sure why it's not here today at the moment. Normally, there is a little purple bar that is right here. And you click on the down arrow on the purple bar, and it will show you how to subscribe. Let me close this for a minute, and we'll try one more time. Of course, the time I go to show you, it doesn't cooperate, right? It's just like when you take your car in for a problem, and then, of course, when you take it in, everything works perfectly. That's so strange. It's always right here, and I don't know why. So, yeah, the purple button is missing. Okay, so when you click the purple button, right, there's a purple bar that shows up right here that says resubscribe or subscribe. There's a little down arrow on the purple bar, and if you scroll all the way down, there's an option that you can click. Twitch is tripping. It's totally tripping, right? Twitch facts. But if you click on the purple bar, at the bottom, there's a little box that you can check that says subscribe for free with Prime. I don't want you to ever pay for this. Please do not give me money. Do not give Twitch money for this. If you want to pay for other things, that's fine. But there is a little bar that you can click on, and at the bottom, you can click subscribe for free with your Twitch Prime. Yes, and as a student, I sent this out to you in an announcement. I'm going to close this since it's not cooperating. But I did send out an announcement. You can get free Amazon Student Prime for 6 months, and then it's cheaper afterward as well. But please don't sign up or pay just for this class. But if you are able to figure it out, like DJ, for example, you need to do that last step where you subscribe to my channel. But please, if you can, you should go ahead and do that. I really, really appreciate you making my life easier. So I'm putting myself on blast by admitting I didn't go back and watch last week's Twitch stream. That's okay. Thank you for your honesty. But did you explain there's a link to your Prime account? Yes. Okay, so if you go onto Canvas, other page here, sorry, too many windows. If you go onto Canvas and go to modules, I have a whole page that I created on this. And again, I'm sorry to spend so much time here. I just want to make sure you're all set up because I'm going to use this all semester long. So on this page, I gave you step-by-step instructions for how to go to your Amazon Prime account, where to click. You click on Prime. You're going to link it by clicking on the stream button, Prime Gaming, and this is what that purple bar looks like, right? And again, I showed you on my friend's channel. I don't know why it didn't show up today, but when you click on that down arrow, there's an option all the way at the bottom. They hide it because it's free, right? We're going to make it hard for you, where you can, oh, please don't pay for it. If you can't, if your option is to pay for it or not do it, just don't do it. I don't want you to ever pay money for this. College is expensive enough, right? I don't want you to be paying money. But if you can figure it out, thank you for doing that. This video is really, really helpful. They show you the whole process as well. But if you're able to figure it out, please do. It's only good for 30 days. So when we hit that like roughly 1 month mark of the class, you might need to go in and resubscribe for free. I'll try and bring it up next week again to show you. I don't know why it didn't work today. It's driving me nuts, right? I hate when things don't work as expected. It drives me Drives me up the wall. Let me try one last time before I give up and move on. So strange. It's always right here, right underneath like the main page. Like if you were on my Twitch page, for example, it's usually there as well. Yeah, no, the step-by-step instructions are there for you. Again, it doesn't show it on here, of course. We'll let it go for today. But the step-by-step instructions are on Canvas if you can take a minute to go through them. Thank you. And if you can't figure it out or it's going to cost you money, just let it go. And that's totally fine as well. Okay, so yeah, yours is the same. You said I'm testing to see if it's linked. You have linked your accounts, but not done the last step. So I see the crown on my end for HSH, whoever just posted that, what your real name is. But you have to go through on my channel, click the purple drop down menu, and then at the bottom, subscribe for free with your Twitch Prime. That's enough of that. I just want to, again, please, if you can figure it out when we're done today, great, take a minute and do it. And if not, that's okay too. I wanted to remind you our next Twitch live stream. I can't talk. I just wrote live stream will be on Thursday next week. Next Thursday, which is the 27th. So next Thursday, 1/27. At 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'm keeping the same day and time at least through next week. So next week, hopefully I will find out if we're going back in person or staying virtual. Depending on what happens with that schedule, I may or may not switch our time moving forward. But at least for now, we will stick with Thursday at 10 for next week. So I hope you continue to join me. There's 35 of you out of 44 in here. So that makes me really happy. Thank you so much again for joining me. Let me give you the Twitch extra credit. That's the other big thing I want to give you for this week. I wrote it out, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. So your Twitch extra credit question for week number 2. Describe one of the ways that intuition is biased and give me a specific example. This is something that I went into in the lecture and also in the textbook. Describe one of the ways that intuition is biased and give me a specific example. So at some point today, make sure you put your first and last name in the chat. Unless you're subscribed, then you don't need to worry about it because I have your names afterward. Then you'll go to week number 2 because that's where we're at. And you'll click on optional Twitch extra credit number 2. Up at the top, you click on start assignment. And here are the instructions again, just in case you forgot, but start assignment. And that brings up this little text box where you can type your response. And once you've answered the question, you'll hit submit assignment. You get the fantastically rewarding little confetti burst. I love that way too much. And hopefully your 2 points of extra credit. So I grade these throughout the week. It's due by Sunday night. But if you submit it early and get it wrong, I will let you know. And then you can always try again. But this is due by Sunday night. Please do this. Get those 2 points for joining me. You're already here and doing the hard part. And then other than that, I will post when we're done today. It takes me a couple of hours because I have to download it and then upload it. But I will post a recording of this live stream when we're done today. The recording of week number 1 is there. If you aren't able to make it live, always at least watch the recording. That will give you a chance to see all of the reminders and announcements for the week and any questions that other students had. You can always also click on the week wrap-up checklist. And so I give you a quick little checklist to remind you, make sure that you've done everything that is due for this week. So get going on week number 2, read the chapter, watch the lecture video, complete the lecture, do the discussion, get those 2 extra credit bonus points for joining me today. Try and figure out the Twitch connection and subscription if you're able. That would be fantastic. And then don't forget that our next live stream will be on Thursday next week at the same time, 10 o'clock in the morning. So again, we're at about 32 minutes or so. Next week, we might have a little bit longer. We have our first homework assignment next week, and I'll go through that in great detail. And so on weeks when we have an exam or another assignment, it might take us a little bit longer. But otherwise, what I will do is that's kind of the end of the things that I wanted to go over with you. I'm going to hang out for the next like 8 to 10 minutes. If you have any questions, this would be a fantastic time to put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them, whether they're about the class or the content. If you don't have any questions and you're feeling good, go ahead and feel free to close out of here. That was the bulk of what I wanted to cover. I hope you all have a fantastic week. I'm very excited for football playoffs this weekend. My two teams advanced one more week. I don't know if the Chiefs can beat the Bills or the Bucks can beat the Rams, but I am very excited for those games this weekend. Should be a good weekend of football. But take care of yourselves. Try and stay healthy as best you can. Email me or reach out if you do have any questions. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend as well. Go Rams. Hey, easy now. Right? I'm just kidding. I hope it's a good game. I love Cooper Kupp and the Rams, but I do love the Bucks and Brady more. I'm a little worried they're gonna sack him like 4 million times. I'm a little scared. But thank you all. Thank you again so much for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Again, all of you, I'm looking at the chat. There's a lot of you who need to do that last step. You did the hard part, but don't forget. So Mallory, Jaden, Jenny, there's a bunch of you. Make sure that you go back and do that last subscription step. Go Niners. Yes, I hope they beat the Packers. They've had a good year, right? Nervously. I agree. I agree completely. Not a question, but as someone who has taken 20 plus online classes, this is by far the most organized, palatable, and helpful class. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you to say. I have put an incredible amount of work into our course. I'm the first one to teach this class online. I've taught online for 10 years and I love it, and I'm very organized. So thank you, Cora. I really appreciate you saying that. I do put a lot of time into it, so thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And you too, Jacob, I hope you have a wonderful week and weekend. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. I'm going to minimize my video just so I'm not staring at myself. But if you have any other questions, put them in the chat. Email me. Take care of yourselves, and I will hope to see you all next Thursday morning. Thank you again for joining me. I know it seems small, but I'm so grateful for your company in a time where I'm teaching at home and it feels like we're all so isolated. I'm really grateful to have you all on here with me this morning. So thank you. Minimizing my video now, but I'll hang out for a little while if you do have any other questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next Thursday. Thank you. Thank you as well, DJ. Have a great week. And I am still here if any of you have questions. If not, we are officially done and you're welcome to log out. But if you think of anything, I am still here. All right, it looks like everyone has logged out. I see 2 people left in here. If you think of anything later in the week or later today, email me. Otherwise, I will see you all next Thursday morning. I'm going to close this so I can start the download and upload process. But have a wonderful week. Thank you again. and I will see you all next week.